All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Annie Schindler, and I'm here this evening to welcome you all to Groveland's 2024 Candidates Night. This evening, you will hear from candidates running for the Board of Selectmen, Library Board of Trustees, and Planning Board, as well as representatives for the 2 ballot questions this year. The discussion will be moderated by Lynn Brodsky, a trained League of Women Voters moderator. She is going to explain how the night will proceed, but we would like to thank her in advance for her time and expertise here. This meeting is going to be televised and recorded, so it will be on our town's YouTube channel. So if any of your neighbors who are not able to attend tonight, you can send them to our YouTube channel and they will be able to watch there. Channel 8 as well. On Channel 8, yes, it's being recorded for that as well. With that being said, please remember to be respectful to your fellow residents and have a great evening, and I will pass it on over to Lynn.
Okay, so thank you. Welcome to a town hall style forum to help inform Groveland voters ahead of the upcoming municipal election. This forum was requested by voters of Groveland and has been organized by your wonderful town clerk, Beth Cuniff. And my name is Lynn Brodsky, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Winchester. I've been trained as a league debate moderator and have moderated a number of debates around Massachusetts. The League of Women Voters is not sponsoring this debate, so I am here as an individual and not as a representative of the League. I do, however, bring League values of engaging in political discourse with fairness and civility, encouraging all citizens to engage in the political process, and not supporting any opposing any candidate or political party. And I come here without advanced knowledge about the candidates or issues facing Groveland. So we're going to start with a town hall style debate for candidates running for the Board of Selectmen. Our goal is for this part of the forum to last up to 1 hour, and then depending on who's here and what people want to do, we'll allow unopposed candidates for other open seats briefly to introduce themselves if they would like to do so. And then we'll finish with a presentation about the ballot questions to include audience participation for the second ballot question. And then finally, the town clerk will offer closing remarks and instructions for voters. And we'll take a short break between sections if we need to do that. So on to the Board of Selectmen. And the Board of Selectmen is the executive body for the municipal government of Groveland. The board has 5 members serving for terms of 3 years each. And the seats are up for election on a staggered basis. So this year, 2 seats for a 3-year term each are open for election, and 6 candidates are running, and thankfully they're all here, and they are from left to right: Adam J. Haywood, Rebecca Megan Boucher, William G. O'Neill, William F. Dunn, Edward H. Watson, and Stephen F. Baker. And so thank you, candidates, for all being here. So each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for their opening statement. And after that, the candidates will have the opportunity to answer questions from the audience. And so there's that moderator right over there that podium over there where Annie was standing, that has a mic there. So if you want to ask a question, I guess line up at that. And please do phrase your questions as a question with little or no introductory commentary. And the reasons for this is that it saves time and also is really the best way to get a good idea of the candidate's views on the issue you're concerned about. And each candidate will have up to 90 seconds to answer each question. And the number of audience questions debated will depend on the time. And as the last part of the debate, the candidates will have up to 90 seconds each to rebut statements made by other candidates and offer closing remarks. And so the order of seating and also of opening statements has been determined by a random process, and so you can see that there. And then after that, the candidates will speak in rotating order. And then depending on how the rotation goes, we might ask candidates to give their closing remarks in reversed order to the opening statements. The opening statements will be left to right, and then the closing would be right to left. And so we also, we have timekeepers that will indicate that a candidate has 30 seconds left by raising a yellow placard up high. Everybody see that? And then they'll indicate that the candidate's time is up by raising a red placard. And we ask you to please stay within the specified time and to maintain a civil tone, and also to please avoid making any personal comments about other people. And our timekeepers this evening are Laurie LeBlanc and Kathy Graney. So, Mr. Adam, you're on first for your opening statement.
Good evening. My name is Adam Haywood. Been a resident of town for about 12 years. The reason I decided I wanted to run is I would like to see a little more discussion and a little more openness to creativity. When I moved to town, I moved here for a reason. The town was affordable, and they took care of my basic needs and services. That's what I'm looking to do. I don't need all the extra stuff that costs money that we don't have. I want to just provide the basic services the best we can and get the most value for our tax dollars. On the CPA, I know that's a big hot button issue. I do support the CPA, however, I support it with some modifications. I don't believe that the current system enables residents to voice their opinion prior to a project going for approval to see if it gets on the ballot and funded. I would like to see a forum where that can be discussed, both sides, not just the people who are for it, but also the people who are against it, and ultimately the people who have to pay the bill. Like I say, I've been involved in the Bagnell School on the school council for a few years. I've been involved with the Groveland Baseball League when my oldest son was going through it. I've got 2 kids in the Bagnell School currently, and I also have a recent graduate of Whittier Tech. So my biggest point I'm trying to make and what I would like to get accomplished is some compromise and some discussion and some open topics where all the town gets to voice their opinion, not just a handful of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me? No? Okay, closer. Good evening, everyone. My name is Becky Boucher. I want to start by thanking everyone involved in coordinating this candidates night. So a little about me. I am a Groveland Townie and a product of the Pentucket school system. I moved out of state and moved back to Groveland to raise my son, who ended up graduating from Whittier. I work at Chesterton as a business systems analyst and have been there for just about 10 years. I'm a volunteer with the Friends of VZ and enjoy any volunteer opportunity where I can immerse myself in the community. I feel that I'm qualified as a Groveland selectman based on skills I built personally and professionally. I have perspective that gives me various ways to look at an issue or idea. As a child growing up in Groveland, as a parent raising a child here, as a person who works for a Groveland business, as a small business owner in a small town, and with a parent still in town, I have the perspective of an older adult living in Groveland. I also have an ability to problem solve, which has been fine-tuned in my work with process improvement. With my experience in project management, I have learned to be organized and focused on a common goal while ensuring communication and accountability is clear. I see areas where I can make an impact as a Groveland selectman. I believe the town needs collaborative leadership, which involves working together with other boards and committees, as well as residents, and valuing contributions equally to make decisions. I will support the town budget and build relationships with our state representatives so that the voices of Groveland are heard when it comes to funding gaps. I will work to create a business-friendly town. I will advocate for families and children by maintaining open communication with our schools. I will cultivate community by helping to raise awareness about town projects, encourage volunteerism, and celebrate events and recreational activities for all ages. My primary motivation to run is fueled by my love for Groveland and the people in it. My roots are deep in Groveland, and I'm stepping up to the support this town we call home. Thank you.
Please. My name is Bill O'Neill, and if you're not new to this town, you're probably not new to me. I made myself quite available since my wife and I and 2 small children moved here 20-some-odd years ago. I came to this town with a purpose to raise my children and to make this town the best small town and community it could possibly be. And from the get-go, I've made myself available not only to the community but to various organizations within the town to make them better. My involvement started with the Little League. It went to moving on to the recreation of the Pentucket football after the embezzlement scandal. It's gone on there to work with the Chief of Police to reinstate the DARE program to teach our young children about the dangers of alcohol and drug abuse. And basically, I bring to this board the track record of accomplishments, far and away, probably more than anybody, I'd say, combined here running today. My background is accounting finance. I'm presently a controller for a large printing company that employs about 400 people. I'm the financial lead there. And why I'm running today is basically because I share the frustrations that you do. The lack of leadership, the overrides, the expenses. We need some strong leadership with some really financial strong background that can lead this town out of the financial crisis that we're headed and into the prosperity that we deserve to make our quality of life what it should be and not a burden on our citizens and our taxpayers. That's why I'm running. That's why I hope you'll support me in my quest to be the next Board of Selectmen. Thank you for your time, and thank you for holding this.
And thank you. So William or Bill Dunn?
William. As you probably, most of you know me, I'm William Dunn. I thank the Lynn from the Winchester League of Women Voters. I thank Beth Cuniff. I thank Laurie LeBlanc and Kathy Greeny and the audience and everyone watching this forum tonight. My background, I'm a resident and a business owner of Groveland for 38 years. The reason why I'm running is I want to bring compassion to the board and common ground. I want to bring financial forecasting with the help of the Department of Local Services that will come into the town and help us with our final management assessment. I would like to get with the school board, with the school process, to get the selectmen, the finance board, and the 3 school committees together, and in the 3 towns, to get our school budget together, because it's the biggest, one of the biggest parts of our budget. I think it's definitely an important thing to have a town planner. The position brought $65,000 in when started. The revenue was $6.9 million to the present today from 2018. And for one thing, just the lights on the Salem Street in front of the Tea Garden, that was money brought in. Water quality is a big thing. We're heading into the PFAS, magnesium, and iron mandate coming up. I'm on the water board. We're looking at a filtration plant. We're currently working on it. I have met with the water commissioner, DPW commissioner in Haverhill, and sat down to possibly purchase water from them. I think we need to support our elderly community, also with the quality of life and continue improving services. We need to do something with our trash budget. I know people are working on it, but you know, we need to take a hard look. It's another big part of our budget here in town. We need to take a look at our road budget. We need to take a look at getting a master plan for our roads. Personally, I drive on the roads. I don't think they're that hot right now. We need to keep the CPC and the CPA. It's a very important. It cannot do without. The state match is 60% overall since 2005. The cost of the town's $243 per year, and the money is well needed.
Okay,
Look forward for your questions.
thank you. Edward or
Yes.
Ed?
Yeah, whatever, either one.
Okay, you're on.
Thank you. My name, Ed Watson. I've served 3 terms on the Board of Selectmen. I add some common sense to the board. We look at every item that's up for a vote, and every vote that I've taken is something that's in the best interest of the town of Groveland. Take personalities out of it. What's best for the town of Groveland? And I'd like to continue with another 3 years. There's some projects that I haven't finished, and just to name a few, roads. The roads are in tough shape, some of them. They need some reconstruction, and I'd like to push forward with that. We need the water filtration plant. If people draw water, last week, I drew a pan of water, and it looked like orange juice. We need a filtration system to filter out some of these chemicals. I'd like to work again towards expanding the business community. We've got to make it easier for the businesses to get started in Groveland. Businesses, I've used it before, the business community that we have up in front of Chesterton. Never see a school bus stop in front of Chesterton. The business park up on Salem Street heading out towards the Georgetown line. School bus doesn't stop there. The business community adds a lot. It cuts down on the taxes that the residents are paying. We need more. We need more businesses. We got to make it easier. Another thing with the senior center, we need a senior center, something we can't do on our own. We're going to need some state money and some federal money for that. So this Valley Screw property, that's got to be taken care of. It's, if you walk by there, it's falling down. So those are some of the projects that I've been working on, and I'd like to continue, and I hope you'd vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen?
Great. Thanks, Lynn. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I really appreciate your interest in the election and your willingness to learn more about all the candidates. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Steve Baker. My family and I moved to Groveland about 7 years ago. I have 3 children who attend the Bagnell School. Both my wife and I have been involved in the community for the past several years. I'm currently the chair of the Recreation Committee, as well as a member of the Cultural Council here in town. And I really enjoy being involved in those boards and committees because I want to make Groveland a better place to live. It's been a very rewarding experience for me, and it's also allowed me to be involved and understand how the town operates. As I've gone through the process of running for Board of Selectmen, the question I probably get asked most is, why are you running for the board? And my answer to that is pretty straightforward. I believe that Groveland should be a place we're all proud to call home and not just a place we live. I'm a firm believer that elected officials should follow 3 basic principles: accountability, collaboration, and transparency. The decisions of the Board of Selectmen directly impact residents, not only financially, but also in terms of quality of life. That's a responsibility that I take very seriously. Our town has had a lot of challenges around spending and how we balance needs versus wants. We have many challenges ahead as well, and those are going to require us to be more forward-looking than we have been in the past. The decisions we make today need to take into account things we're doing, things we know are coming in the future. I think we need to spend more time being proactive and strategic rather than reacting to things that we should have been prepared for or should have had a plan for in the first place. My vision for the board is that we focus on things that actually matter: keeping expenses down, keeping taxes in check, staying within our means, but also finding ways to increase revenue by growing our business tax base, and partnering with other boards and committees, like the school committee, to find solutions that have a positive impact on all of you. I look forward to your questions tonight, and I appreciate everyone's time.
Okay, so thank you for your opening statements. I noticed several people kind of standing around the edges of the room. If you have an empty chair next to you, can you raise your hand? So if someone wants to sit in the chair, you can. The couple here, there's an empty chair here against the wall. Anybody want to come in? No? Okay. All right, so we're getting to the audience questions. So first person can go to that podium right over there and ask your question. Okay, and say who you are if you don't mind, please. Hit the green button. Yeah, you got to make it live. Hit the
Thank
green
you for the
button.
reminder. Hi, I'm Stephanie Bartelt, and my question is, how do you plan to work with people with whom you think you don't agree, and how do you think you'll build consensus?
Thank you. So the first, by the rotation, Rebecca, you would be the first person to start with this question, then we'll just rotate around.
Great, thank you for that question. So I deal with this a lot where I work, so I have some practice in this. I think it's, first of all, is understanding the point of view of the other person is important. Listening to their concerns, looking for that common ground, and having just open and respectful conversation to be able to create a solution to a problem that everyone feels comfortable with.
Bill?
Thank you for that question. I agree with Ms. Boucher. You have to start with common ground. You have to start with something that both sides can agree upon. There you can build a foundation to build on better and bigger things. But if you start at a point where you're so diametrically opposed, it's very difficult. I have a lot of experience, not only in life, but in this town, working with a number of different organizations and people, including the Mystic Valley Rapid Transit, to get us our first ever permanent bus line. Something that was costing this town's taxpayers money that we got no service for, but we paid into it. Now, we've completely reversed that. We get more services now than we pay for, which is the way we ought to do it whenever we can. So it's not only in my business life, but I've actually shown that in town government with my collaboration with not only different departments within the town, but organizations outside of the town to make the quality of life for our residents better than it was the day before.
Okay, thank you. William?
Compassion, listen, common ground, and good solutions. Simple. been there, done it. I think I could be the right person for it. If anyone knows me, I'm not looking for a fight. I'm always looking for common ground and come up with a good solution. And I think I've shown that throughout the town as I've lived here and being a business owner.
Thank you. And I forgot to say this earlier, but sometimes if the candidates, if you want the questioner to repeat their question, you can ask them to. So if they're not here, I'll try to repeat it. But anyway, Edward, you're next.
Yeah, could you repeat that question, please?
Okay.
The question is, how do you plan to work with people with whom you think you don't agree? And how do you think you'll build consensus?
Well, there's 5 people on the board. Everybody has an opinion. That's why sometimes the meetings run long, because everybody wants to have their say. But it's compromise. You have to listen to everybody's opinion, and you have to compromise and come up with a solution. And it's pretty simple. But you have to respect everybody's opinion. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody is very passionate about their opinion. They think they're right. Well, you got to look at everybody and come up with a compromise, and that's the way it should be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen?
So I think when it comes to building that type of consensus, the first thing is starting with the understanding that everybody's working towards a common goal. And sometimes there's different paths to that goal, right? But I think in general, we have a tendency to not like to be wrong, right? So when you go into those discussions where you know it's going to be contentious, or when you know there's going to be, a disagreement on perhaps how you get to that goal, you really have to be willing to be open to potentially having your own viewpoint challenged and ask questions and, come to an agreement. I think a lot of times people argue because they just want to be heard. So it's a lot of listening and being open to compromise.
Okay, thank you. And Adam?
So for me, the best way to work together to come up with a solution is to actually sit there and listen. Get ideas on the table. Bring an idea. I don't care, good, bad, doesn't matter. That's where we come from, is when all the ideas are on the table. That's where we're going to find the solution. The way this is supposed to work, nobody should get exactly what they want. There should be some sort of compromise in the middle, common ground that everybody can agree on, so it's fair for all parties involved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you want to ask a question at the podium? So please. And candidates, don't forget to push the button so your light turns green when you're speaking, and turn it off to red when you're done.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you all for your willingness to serve. I served on the Master Planning Committee in 2023. Many years ago, we had a master plan also that was implemented, actually was purchased, but we never really implemented it. On page 122 to 142, in a very interesting document, it has an implementation plan. And a master plan really defines the contours of our town, what it looks like, what it feels like, how it works. The key stakeholder mentioned in every component of the implementation plan is the Board of Selectmen. So just an open question of interest. What is your level of interest in the comprehensive plan, also used to be known as the master plan? Is that something that could possibly be a priority for you? Thank you.
Okay, so in case a candidate needs you to repeat the question, you might want to stay there and just phrase it as a question if they need you to repeat it. So I think, Bill, you're up to go first. Oh, no, wait, no. Yeah, Bill, you're the one that goes first.
I think I'm up at bat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, you're next.
Joe, thank you for that question. I think the master plan is an important part of how this community moves forward, what we want it to look like, and what we're willing to give up to get it. It's always been a serious issue for me since I moved to the town, because I raised my kids here. Now I'm raising my grandchildren here. So I have a deep desire and a lot of skin in the game to make sure that this master plan, however it evolves, as it evolves, benefits not just some, but many. Because that's the real idea behind community, right? You want it to improve the lives of as many people as we possibly can, and not just a few. So I'm very interested in. I'd like to see it move forward as expeditiously and as economically feasible as possible, but we have to weigh, obviously, the cost-benefit relationship to make sure that it works not only for the citizens and the taxpayers, but for the wallets, right? And that's where I am on that, but thank you for that question.
Thank you. William?
Thanks, Joe, for your question, but I'm not 100% sure we even have a master plan in this town. We have, sorry. Thanks, Joe. I'm not sure we even have a master plan in this town, and probably should have been implemented years ago. We right now have a budget that our schools are heavy, our trash is heavy, and our town runs on peanuts. So I am an advocate for a master plan. I will work hard to get a master plan, and as I said in my opening statement, financial planning. We need it. And I'm not saying anyone in this town doesn't work hard. Everyone in this town works hard. They do over and above. I'm not talking about that. We're good at putting the fires out, but we're not good at the forecasting in the future. And that's what I'll be big on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Edward?
Yes, thank you. Joe, a master plan it's a guideline that setting up different steps along the way. And it can be changed. I think probably the term would be a working document where it can be changed, and it evolves over a period of years. And it's a great beginning, but it needs to be expanded. And one of the ways it needs to be expanded, need to list out, when somebody goes in for like a business permit, it needs to have a checklist of everything that needs to be done so that it can't be changed in midstream. It's got to be made easier. And that's what should be included in there. Also, it should be included as far as maintenance. We spend a lot of money on different projects, but we lack in maintenance. And just as an example, the Whittier Tech that just came up, you look at the pictures, it's lack of maintenance. And we spend money on projects, but we don't really have much set aside for maintenance. I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen?
So I think the master plan is a very important document, right? The most recent revision of it was released in October of last year, I believe. And to your point, Joe, it does include, an implementation plan. But I think what's been lacking with the execution of that plan is, I recall a meeting where it was brought to the Board of Selectmen after, the town planner had spent quite a bit of work on it. There was a lot of community engagement and collaboration. I know I was at some of those sessions. And it basically got thrown in the garbage. They didn't want to take the time to look at it, to reprioritize it. I agree, there's an implementation plan there, and we can't do all of it all at once. Some of it is going to be expensive, but there are many things in that plan that aren't going to cost us anything. Zoning changes, potentially permitting changes, things like that, that we could do to make ourselves more business friendly, to update zoning bylaws, that are just time, right? Time is money, but they're not things that are going to cost the taxpayers money. I think what I would like to see the board do is spend more time actually reviewing that document, asking questions. If there's changes that need to be made, make those changes, but also understand what are the foundational things in that plan that we can do now for little to no cost and start implementing them so we can move forward with the plan over time.
Thank you. Adam?
So I've looked at the master plan. I think it's a good document to have, and I think it's a good framework to work from. Obviously, implementing it all as the implementation steps show is, I feel, a little too much at once, but it's certainly something I would support moving slow scale at to start working into that and aiming in that direction. As a lot of time and effort was put into making that plan, a lot of community input was put into that plan, and I think those voices need to be heard.
Thank you. Rebecca?
So I agree with everyone here. A lot of collaboration and work was put into that plan, so I think it would be great to use it as a roadmap. I'm going to go back to my project management role. Everything starts with an idea, and then it's coming up with how are we going to implement this. Looking at the master plan, goal number 3 was to discussing the industrial district. It was creating a significant way, a significant gateway to Groveland from Georgetown that balances open space with mixed-use development along Route 97 and in the industrial district. That just screams supporting to be more business-friendly here in Groveland, which is going to give us more revenue. So for as far as the master plan goes, I think we can definitely take pieces from it because it's a comprehensive plan, and it makes it so we don't have to start from scratch. It gives us something to work with. So I'm all for supporting it. I think we need to start moving forward with pieces of it and start creating some goals using that. Thank you.
So thank you for your question about the master plan and for everybody answering it. So anybody else would like to go to the podium and ask a question? Okay, yeah, so just say who you are and then go ahead.
I'm Ruth Rivard. I'm a resident of the town. I have sat on the Finance Committee for, 7 or 8 years now. And the Finance Committee has openings. It's got vacancies. We've had to cancel meetings because we don't have quorum. The 4 or 5 of us that are able to go have to be there. And when something comes up, we can't hold a meeting. We can't conduct town business. So when, you wonder, what can we do to be proactive? How can we get ahead of the finances? How can we get ahead of the budget? We need people. The school, you're all commenting that it's, 65% of our budget. There's nobody from our town running for the vacant school committee spot on the ballot this year. So what do you think about that problem? Why do you think that is? And what do you think we do about it?
Okay, thank you. So that was your question, right? You're all set. So William, you would be the first person to answer this one.
Thank you for your question.
Your mic.
I should just leave it on. I'm only going to say, there's 6 of us up here running. That goes to show people in this town aren't happy. These 6 people are putting their heads out because they know there's a job to be done. When I was on the Board of Selectmen, I was big on thank you, and I was big on trying to get community involvement and also bring in volunteerism. That starts, you get volunteerism by treating people fairly, treating people nicely, being compassionate, comparing to people, they'll get involved. I definitely think people in the world, their lives are very busy, but on the same token, I'm not sure people in Groveland are completely happy what's going on in Groveland, and it's not anything caused by anyone. What you're saying, it's a frustration. I'm involved on the economic board. I'm the chairman. I can't get some people to come to the meetings because they're too busy. So I think personally we got to, do more with being friendly, compassionate, and somehow turn around and be more, public relations. It's a hard thing. I agree. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So Edward?
Yes, thank you. Volunteerism sometimes is very difficult. Takes a lot of time. People just don't have time today to volunteer. It takes a lot of time. Probably, you'll mention the school committee, probably one of the most important, but it takes the most of the time. Some people, they're busy. Some people are working extra jobs. They just don't have time to volunteer. And they need to just get the word out that we need people. It's, in this day and age, people have got a lot of things going on. People don't sometimes they don't want to cook at home. They're busy. So they do a takeout. They get home. And that's the problem. People are busy. And then there's the other thing. Some people just don't care. But you got to get the word out there. Maybe the town website, notices, we're looking for people. I know the present chairman on the Board of Selectmen, he's always putting out information that we need volunteers, we got a vacancy here, we got a vacancy there, and we need to keep doing that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Stephen?
Thanks, Ruth. I share your frustration with some of the quorum issues and things like that. I'm on a couple of boards, like I mentioned, and I know we've dealt with some of that as well. I will say that I think people are very willing to volunteer if they're asked, right? I know, I've asked people to be on boards and they've been willing to step up. I think one of the things that I would like to see happen, though, I think as a volunteer, you want your work to be recognized, right? And you want to know that you have support, right? And those are two things that I don't think our current Board of Selectmen have done a very good job of providing to volunteers in town. We only see other boards coming in to talk about what they're working on when they have a problem and they need help, right? I feel like they should be invited in to talk about the good things that they are doing so that people can understand what their contributions are and so they can feel like those contributions are valued. That's a big thing for me. I think recognition, and I think being willing to collaborate with some of those appointed boards and being able to support them is something that I would like to see happen more. And I think that would encourage more volunteers to want to take part in, different boards and committees that we have.
Okay, so thank you. Adam?
I think one of our biggest problems is getting the word out so people know that there are vacancies. People want to help. No one doesn't want to help. They don't know the help is needed. So whatever we need to do to communicate that out to the people. Everyone I talk to, what can I do? How can I help? So I tell them there's vacancies everywhere. If this doesn't pan out for selectmen, I will gladly volunteer for finance board, school committee, whatever needs to be done. I'm here to make a difference. I'm done being a passenger and watching it happen. So I'm taking action. That's why I'm here.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Hi, so I can absolutely understand the issue that you have. I work over 40 hours a week. I go to school part-time. So yes, time is tight, but luckily I have a lot of energy to be able to stretch that time. But being an outsider, kind of looking in, a few years ago, I wanted to volunteer. One thing that held me back was I didn't understand the commitment. Right, so joining a finance board or joining the recreation committee, okay, what is the meeting cadence? What is the work that needs to be done outside of the meeting? There were some unknowns that I didn't feel like were fully clear. And also, what are the skills that are needed? It's a volunteer position, but it is, I don't want to say it's like a job, but just understanding what are the expectations and the commitment level, I think are important for people to know. Because if you want someone who's working full-time or even part-time, or they have a family to raise, understanding that, they can factor that in and they can make space for that.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Bill.
Ruth, thank you for that question. It's something that I tried to address during my first year as selectman way back when Mr. Dempsey asked the question. And I came up with an innovative idea to try and recognize volunteers by having a volunteer of the month, where people could nominate folks in the town that they thought went above and beyond in their volunteerism. And then we had a little presentation and something to memorialize that nomination and that volunteerism. It's not always easy. I know that as a Little League coach, sometimes you have to drag people on the other side of the fence. And when you get them on the other side of the fence, they're just so happy. The reward they get from giving their time, it makes all the difference. Now, we're all busy in life. I have 4 children, 4 grandchildren. I work a full-time job, and I still find time to sit on the Pentucket Regional Agreement Committee, the FinCom Committee, the Trash Committee, as well as just coaching a Little League team and watching my son play high school baseball. The thing is, folks, it's your town. Get involved. It really, there's an old adage in life, right? It says, many hands make for light work. Well, if we had more folks on the FinCom committee or more folks on other committees, it'd make for light work for all of us. Jump in. Folks, the water is great. You'll love it once you get in.
Okay, thank you. So, next question. Yeah, feel free. And just say who you are, please.
Apologize for my laryngitis. My name's Jim Scanlon. I live on 42 Center Street. I shouldn't assume, the warrant was posted at the end of last week. I assume some of you or all of you have read some of it. Was there one article in there that you agreed with or disagreed with, and why? That's my question.
Did everyone hear the question? Okay,
Don't
so
make me say it
the
again.
first, I heard it, I can repeat it, I think I got it.
Maybe two.
But you all heard it, okay? All right, Edward, you're the first one on this one.
Jim, if I got you correct, you were looking for, in the warrant articles, one item that we liked and one that, not.
Right.
Yes, I'll do the one that I dislike. It's the $886,000 to redo the parking lot at the soccer field. Last year, that article, very similar, came in at $500,000 to start with. We cut out the lights, so it came in under $500,000. This year, they redid it, and now it's $886,000. Absolutely ridiculous. We can do that parking lot a lot cheaper. And last year, they were gonna cut down 9 trees, and 9 trees that our garden club had planted years back. Well, this year, I think they expanded it to 11 trees. Well, in certain parts of town, we're raising money to put in trees, and down here, we're cutting them down. It absolutely a waste.
Okay, thank you. So Stephen?
So, appreciate the question. In terms of an article that I liked and was in favor of, it was actually the Shanahan parking. I don't know how many of you remember a situation that took place in town in May of 2021, May 12th specifically. You may not remember the exact details, but you may remember there was a lot of news coverage in town. There was a lot of newspaper articles, and that was because a girl and her father were waiting at the bus stop for the bus. A landscaping truck driven by an unlicensed driver jumped to the curb, almost took out the girl, hit the bus. I pushed my daughter out of the way that day. And I'm not telling you that for sympathy or praise. I'm telling you that because I've stood at that bus stop hundreds of times since and hundreds of times before that. We have a problem at Shanahan, and it's only going to get more expensive to fix. We have money in CPA that can cover that project, so it's not additional funds that we have to put out. I understand it's expensive, but I just wonder, one distracted driver going down that road, one irresponsible driver going down that road, one parent who takes their eyes off a kid who runs into the street, are we going to regret not spending money that we have to improve the safety in that area?
Okay, Adam?
Well, I guess I'm going to jump on aboard the Shanahan Field parking lot as well. I feel like this is a good example of somewhere where we could have got creative and some things could have been discussed before it was brought to the CPC with the $880,000 price tag. I look at that and I say, well, gee, what do we need? We need a place to park. I agree. I had kids in soccer. It's a nightmare. I understand that. We do not need an $880,000 parking lot. What I would recommend doing is take a phased approach to it, and I would use the highway department to do it, not an outside contractor where you have to throw all that money out at once. Go in there, lay some drainage, put down a gravel road base, walk away, circle back to it in a couple of years. If we have money, let's pave it and put some lines on it. I think that people are more than capable of parking in a dirt parking lot. It's not rocket science. If you look at Pipes, Dave, that's how that is. Everybody seems to manage just fine over there. So, I'm in agreement. It's too much money for what we're getting out of it.
Rebecca?
Okay, I'll bite. Shanahan parking lot. I am for it. I think the space is awkward. I know that there is that home that's in the middle, so having defined parking lot would probably benefit that person that lives in the middle of that parking area. Improved parking is needed and has been needed. When you go by there during soccer, I mean, that main street is just filled with cars. I looked at the project itself to verify the increased costs, and I see it was due to engineering that was required, that was discussed at the last time, on the last town meeting when this was shot down, increased cost of supplies and the increased cost of wages. Those are things that affect everybody, and it affects this project. And I think another thing to understand with this is like project management, this is the most it would cost. So when I work with project management, I give the ticket item to the person and say, okay, this is what we're looking at for a price here. I'm not going to have it go up. They agree to that price. That's what it is. So I am for the Shanahan parking lot. Thank you.
Bill, you're next.
Okay, why not make it an even half dozen? If you've ever been down to Shanahan Field on a Saturday afternoon, morning, actually the whole day, it is just an accident and a tragedy waiting to happen. And I don't want to see that to one of your young sons or daughters. It is expensive, there's no doubt about it. But what price tag do you put on a child's life that, or maybe, seriously injured? Because it is just a dangerous situation down there. The cars are parked haphazardly wherever they can. The children are small, a lot of them are small. They tend to run off on their own sometimes, and it's just it's an accident waiting to happen. I understand that it sounds like a lot of money, but again, this is why we put away money in CPC, so we can get matching grants, so that we don't have to burden the taxpayer for things that the community enhances the quality of life for. So I'm all for it. I don't like the cost, but again, we're dealing with year-over-year cost, inflation, wages, materials. That's what happens when you wait in this day and age. You're going to pay more.
And thank you. William?
So it's simple. I'm in favor of it. That being said, I think the question was asked about the town, say it again, was the town budget, not the budget, but the question,
Do you want me to restate the question?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so the questioner asked, of the warrants that are coming up, or what do you oppose and what
Yep,
do you
got it.
support?
so a lot of people work hard in this town to put projects together and to put the warrant together and what have you. So I'm going to put the trust in the voters of Groveland that they'll go to the voting box and they'll vote and what have you to do the right thing. But there is definitely projects on there. Maybe they have pork fat in them. That's going to be up to the voters to vote it down. But I think that project is a good project. But again, I'm going to put my trust in the voters of Groveland. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So next question, who wants to ask one? And just, I think you have to, is the mic live or he has to turn it on? Okay, so press the button to make it green and then you're on.
Hello, my name is Ryan Lee. I live over on Georgia Street. When you hear the phrase affordable housing, what do you picture? And is this something you see the town, the Board of Selectmen, has a role in either trying to create more of or trying to make sure we keep it the way it is? Thank you.
Thank you. So Stephen, you get to answer this one first.
So I think it's definitely been a topic of conversation, right? We have a number of different things that are going on in town around affordable housing, right? There's a apartment complex going in on Salem Street, right? There's the potential to have to do some things around multifamily zoning with the MBTA communities law, depending upon what happens with that. I mean, I think to me, it's making sure that there is housing available for residents at all different income levels. I know a lot of work has been done to try and improve upon our housing plan and factor into that affordable housing. There's still a lot of work to do there, right? There's legal things that have to be considered. There's ramifications on neighborhoods and things like that. So I think we need to be cautious and we need to take a very measured and educated approach on that. I am glad to see that the 40B project on Salem Street is going to put us over our limit for affordable for 40B housing, which means that a unfriendly developer can't come in and bypass zoning laws going forward. So that's good, but there's still work to do. There's definitely still work to do.
Okay, thank you. Adam?
So when I think of affordable housing, I look around and I look at the elderly people that can't afford to stay in their houses, and that's the affordable housing I would like to see. Is something more geared towards seniors. I'm not in favor of apartment complexes on every corner. I don't want to live in Lawrence. I want to live in Groveland. If we wanted to do some townhouse style or some single-family style at a reduced rate, then I'm on board with that. And then I think the most important thing with this is when the MBTA Communities Act comes around, assuming it will, is when we have to make the decision on what land to zone for that, I feel that we need to make sure that we zone that on town-owned land so that it has to go before the voters before anything can be built on it.
Thank you. Rebecca?
So I had attended the community engagement session that the MBTA Communities Act people came, and I learned a lot about that act and the benefit of it. We do need affordable housing. Supporting that is important. One thing that they mentioned was older adults can't downsize. I can speak as my parent who's still in town. She can't downsize, so it turns into she has a bigger house that a family could move into. So you kind of need that sort of progression of people moving out into a more manageable home for families to move in. So I am supportive of affordable housing, but also with understanding the financial impact it could have on the town. And I think it's important to have facts over feelings and not have it be about, I don't want people coming in here that can't afford things, but more about what is the financial impact, what is the school impact, are more police staff going to be needed, how much money do we actually earn from supporting these affordable housing programs. So I think it's going to be a delicate balance, but I do support the idea of it.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
Thank you for your question. I tried to be on the forefront of this issue in affordable housing in Groveland years ago when I was on the Board of Selectmen by trying to get the board to be proactive with the affordable housing and what type of affordable housing. The elderly in this town face a major dilemma right now because, as Rebecca kindly pointed out, they live in huge homes and most of them are empty nesters or widowed or widows. And to try and find an affordable place to live in Groveland that suits their needs is almost impossible at this point. Years ago, when I tried to be proactive and set out sites for what kind of affordable housing and where it should be, I was rebuffed, and told, well, we'll wait till the state puts a gun to our head. Well, folks, state put a gun to our head and then they pulled the trigger, right? So now we're fighting uphill. But what I'd like to see is more affordable housing like you have at Whitestone, where it's over 55, where it's affordable for the elderly, where they can sell their homes in Groveland and stay in Groveland at an affordable price, where they've known their whole life, where they have their friends, their community, and they're comfortable. So it's really important to me, and I struggle. My family members struggle with it as well. So it's a subject that's very near and dear to my heart.
Okay, thank you. William?
So, as I stated earlier, I am the chairman of the Economic Board, and I have been currently working on different projects through the town with the board. I can tell you, we have a problem with our school budget and what have you. I met a few weeks ago with Senator Tarr, and when I met with him on the Valley School Building. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to mispromise things, but whatever. I can tell you this, if this town wants help with their budget and their forecasting in the future, we are now on an MBTA route from Haverhill to the town hall. If we can expand that MBTA route to possibly the Strawberry Fields area, past the Valley School Building, we now will be able to get housing. It could be affordable to where the people, they may build housing for the people that can't afford house, like the younger generation can't afford these houses. That's what they look at. They are trying to bring in housing. If we will, I say, play with the state, they will make it. So you want money for your schools? That's what they're going to do. If you look over in Haverhill, they're putting up those, and I'm not saying Groveland's getting high rises, but that's what they're doing. You see all this, housing going on? That's exactly what these towns are doing to get the state funding. The state will not fund towns like this because we're small and because there's no skin in the game for the state. So he said, we're going to meet again, but I'll leave it at that. But I am 100% in favor of affordable housing, and also I will work hard on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Ed?
Yes, thank you. It's a good question. The affordable housing or the 40B projects, when those come up, and there's been a few, it's always opposed by the people that are that live in that area, not in my backyard. They don't want them in their own backyard. But there is a way that I think that you can do it, and I've advocated for this. It's through our housing authority, where they would purchase a piece of property, and there's money available for it, and they could use that. It would be in different areas, and where they would speak with the neighbors, they'd come up with a plan, and they'd purchase the house, use it for affordable housing, and collect the rent on it. And there's a couple of them in Groveland right now. But because people, if they have a large project, they don't want it in the neighborhood. But little individuals, it would work out fine, I think. Gee whiz, it was a quite fast 30 minutes, 30 seconds, excuse me. But that's a way. There are other ways, but I guess I don't have time for that, because they're going to shut me off here in a second. Will you check when you get back? Just check, make sure they're timing it correctly, will you? Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. So I think we have time for one more audience question before we go to the closing statements. And so the first person, that will be Ed. You would be, yeah, wait a minute, hang on a minute, let me see that. No, it would be Stephen. You would answer it. You went first last time? All right, so Adam, you would answer first next time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for your time. My name is Alyssa Lee. I'm a Groveland resident, live on Georgia Street, and I am also have the pleasure of serving as the director of the Groveland Council on Aging. So a number of you have touched on acknowledging the importance and value of our older adults, so those 60 and older in our community. And so with that, how do you plan on working with the COA as a department, but also our other departments in the town? What does that ideal relationship look like between this Board of Selectmen and town departments?
So I think every department board is important, and every opinion should be brought and discussed. Again, this goes back to sharing of ideas. This is where some of our best things come from, is ideas from everyone else. So I'd be all for it. I think, again, every board is equally as important, and everybody has something they can bring to the table to help make Groveland a better place for everyone.
Thank you. Rebecca?
So I think it's important to have some sort of meeting cadence with the different boards and committees, to invite them to the Board of Selectmen meetings, create a healthy, friendly environment for them to feel like they can come and that they're welcome to share what's working for them and what's not working for them. So maybe it's a lack of volunteers, or maybe you just want to highlight an event that's coming up. I think we need to leverage the Board of Selectmen meetings a little bit more to have that more cohesive relationship with the boards and committees.
Thank you. Bill?
Hi, great question. Thank you for it. When I served as one of your selectmen, specifically as chairman, I tried to make it a point to have every department come in on a rotating basis so that we could discuss the problems, the issues that they faced, and how we could help and what we could do to facilitate change or the necessary reaction that we needed from that. So the police would be one week, fire would be another, COA would be another. So there was constant communication. There was never a point where I didn't want to hear it, just like in my business life. There's never a point where I don't want to hear from some of my departments, because I don't want to be blindsided, especially in a financial position, by some great expense where the machine went down or the roof needs repair. The constant interaction with those departments on a rotating basis keeps you up to date on what the needs are, how costly they may be, and more importantly, how to plan for that so that it doesn't become a burden to the taxpayers or the citizens, but it's planned for, because like the old adage, nobody plans to fail. Sometimes we just fail to plan, right? So always look for the future. How are we going to do things? How are we going to make things better? So that's how I would do it. That's how I've done it in the past.
Thank you. William?
Well, thank you for your question, and I've been a selectman, as I said before, and I definitely think the Council on Aging was one department that might have been gone by the wayside as far as communication. I will say we have a new town administrator, administrator. And I'm going to say, I'm not in town a lot, but she's come a long way with this town. She's rarely making the meetings. She's trying to get the departments in, have department head meetings that I can see so far. I think that's big. I was always an advocate that try to get, every department together, have talks and what have you. That's where you need to have it. You need to get the town departments talking together, and we have a town administrator now, which we didn't before, and there's no divide between departments or whatever, which I saw personally. So I think it's getting a lot better. And I can say if I'm elected, that's one area I'm going to work on.
Thank you. Ed?
Yes, thank you. One of the big things with the Council on Aging budget, I'm sorry, the senior citizens do not belong in this room. They need a building of their own. And unfortunately, the town can't afford it. We're going to need some help from our legislative delegation. We're going to need some help from legislators in Washington. They're going to have to come up with something, but this room is too busy. They don't belong here. And the same with the offices. They probably need a bigger office out there. So, but we can't do it on the budget that we have, and we need some assistance. So they've got to write letters, get on the phone to their representatives, their senators, and tell them, we need some help here. Other communities have done it, and other communities have got a senior center, a home that they can call their own, with not using town funds. Georgetown uses it in the old school. But that's what we can't afford it, but we need some assistance from the state and the federal government. Thank you. I was timing you, and you did a good job with that.
Stephen?
So I appreciate the question. I really think, I'd like to see the board kind of the Board of Selectmen leading the effort on fostering that mindset of collaboration, right? I've never understood why, again, I think I mentioned this earlier about boards and committees. Why do we only see boards and committees when they are having a problem, right? Why aren't they invited in to talk about the good things that they're doing, talk about the projects that they're working on? And that goes for town departments as well. There needs to be more of that. I listened to a discussion over the past couple of weeks around a town meeting article that got taken off around the Council on Aging and some changes there. I watched the Board of Selectmen meeting about it. I watched the Council on Aging meeting about it. And I think the thing I took away from that entire process was nobody was talking to each other. There was questions that weren't being answered. There was intent that wasn't being read properly by folks. And I think it's a prime example of why working closer together, inviting department heads, inviting board chairs of boards or committees to come in and talk on a rotating basis would help a lot, right? It's better to be ahead of a problem or ahead of, something that may be happening than kind of chasing it from behind. So that's my feeling.
Okay, so thank you. So now it's time for the closing statements, and you can respond as you wish to what other people have said, or you can say whatever you want about your candidacy. And so let's go in reverse order from how we started. So Stephen, you would go first.
Sure. So I started out by saying that one of the reasons that I'm running for the board is that I believe that Groveland should be a place that we're all proud to call home and not just a place that we live. That requires everybody to work together to be moving towards a common goal. And that's really the mindset that I want to bring to the board, right? That idea of accountability, collaboration, and transparency. I appreciate all the great questions tonight, and if anyone's looking to get in touch with me after tonight, feel free to stop by and see me, or look me up on my campaign Facebook page. It's Baker01834, and that'll take you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed?
Okay. Thank you. Was that you, Jason? Look, here in the town of Groveland, we're very lucky. We have some of the best schools in the area. We have best recreation and athletic fields. Other communities, we just blow them away with that. There are things that we need here in Groveland. We need to fund the schools. We need to fund public safety. We need to fund repairing of the roads. We need to fund the library. And those are tops, very important. And the others, things like the water filtration plant, again, we can't do it on our own. Expand the business community, that's something that we can work towards. And that's gonna take a lot of work, because most of the businesses that you see around, they want their own, they want a town septic system, and most of the areas that we have available, it's not on the town septic system. So we either have to move the business area, or we need to supply them with the septic. They don't want a sewerage system where they have to be pumped out every so often. And we need to change some of the regulations so it makes it easier for them to open up and help us out with our taxes, and that's important. Our taxes are just killing everybody here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So William?
If I'm elected, I will work hard for Groveland. For an example, I'm always active in the town. I was a two-term selectman. I was on the zoning board and the cemetery commission. I'm currently the chair of the water board and the chair of the economic board. My accomplishments was starting Pumpkin Fest, the Groveland beautification, putting tractors around town. I was in negotiating with the building inspector, police chief, and fire chief. I was an advocate for the new water building when the electric light moved out and got them moved out of town hall to open town space inside town to make more town hall space. I was proud of the zoning rewrite, the comprehensive permit guidelines. My proudest accomplishments was the Bagnell School fields in the back. I funded the OPEB count, the 85,000 retirement fund. I sold tax title land with the board on Salem Street. I am actively working on the Valley Screw building as a chairman of the economic board to help release from tax title, possibly turning it into possibly tie the property to 150 Center Street with the water grant that we just got from the water department to make it into a positive tax base of Groveland. As a business owner, I am committed to bring my energy, compassion, strong moral code, and staying effectively correct for my term as a member of the Board of Selectmen. Thank you again. I'll get the job done.
Thank you. Rebecca? Wait, no, Bill, you're next. Sorry about that.
Wow. Only my wife does that to me.
What, she calls you Rebecca?
Maybe I'll identify as Becca next time. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for putting this on. Thank you to my fellow candidates for having the interest and the passion that I do to make this town better. Without folks like us, we couldn't accomplish things. Again, I share your frustration with the taxes, with the overrides we've had. These last 3 years have been very difficult on all of us. And I think I'm running because I think it's time for a change. I think you'll agree. I have a proven track record of accomplishments in this town that not only benefit me, but benefit all of us. Your children, your elderly, your parents. I look to raise all ships in the harbor, not just a few. I want to continue the work I've done on the numerous committees and boards that I've been on to enhance the quality of life for everyone in this town, because it's my town too. I want it to be the greatest town possible, and I rolled up my sleeves and worked as hard as I can in every possible way. Now, there's a lot of signs out there, but as you go to the polls to vote, I ask you to just ask yourself one question. What have they done for you lately? Have they done anything to enhance your quality of life? And if they haven't, then I ask you for your vote and your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Rebecca, it's your turn.
So I want to thank again everyone that put the candidates night together. I also want to thank everyone who attended, watched from home, or will watch this later. I hope I gave you an idea of who I am and what I could bring to Groveland as your selectman. I also want to add that this is a 5-member board, and it's meant to represent different aspects of our community. Groveland is over 50% female, and I think our board should reflect that. So I ask you to visit my website for more information. It's becky4groveland.com. I encourage everyone to get your voices heard and vote on May 6th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And finally, Adam?
All the pressure over here, opening and closing. First off, I think I need to just throw it out there. I'm also a project manager. I must have missed that the first time around. And I just want to say, I'm proud to call Groveland home now. I chose to live here. I could have moved anywhere. I moved to Groveland because it was Groveland, because it was a small town. And that's what I wanted to stay. I understand we need to do some development and spread out the tax base, but we also need to do stuff for the people who are in our community now, especially the older community. We need them to stay or the math doesn't work. If all the older community leaves and now you're overburdening the school system, and what's going to pay for that? Another override. And I don't want to do that. We need to be very conscientious of a want versus a need and address them accordingly. And, what's wrong with some new ideas, some new leadership, and, open communication? That's what it's all about. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, candidates for Board of Selectmen. So we're going to just take a brief break and go on to the next part of the debate. So folks at home, stay tuned in. We're off mic now, right? Okay. Okay, hello, Groveland. We're ready to start the next part of our discussion. Okay, we're live. Okay, so everyone, may I please ask for your attention for our folks in front? And I want to first thank our media person, Chris LaCory over here, who's doing a great job. Thank you. So people at home who are watching that, thanks to Chris. And so the next part is we have some candidates who are running unopposed for office. So we're not going to have a debate, but they're going to introduce themselves and talk about what they want to do in this office. So we're going, the order is alphabetical by last name. So Jan Dempsey, running for library trustee, is first. And each of these speakers has up to 2 minutes.
Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for hosting this. My name is Jan Dempsey, and I believe that one of the most important places where I can donate my time is to our public library. It's an institution for everyone, and no matter what your income level is, or your age, or your occupation, you can use it freely. It's just an amazing place. Our library is a member of a consortium called the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium. So you can actually get materials delivered to Groveland from 36 member libraries across the state. You can borrow passes to museums and attend excellent programs. Books, movies, and music can be downloaded directly to your phone through your public library. All you need is a library card, so I'm always encouraging everyone to get one. I want to thank all the citizens and officials of our town for supporting our library. If you haven't visited in a while, I encourage you to stop by and see the new carpeting that just got put in April, the new flooring that was installed as well, and also it's a whole new improved layout, which I'm sure you will like. And in May, we're also hoping to plant new trees in front of the library. I am a librarian, and my career actually started at the Langley Adams Library, where I worked with Mim Burbridge, Martha Metcalf, and Joan Guptill. I'll always be grateful for that opportunity. Recently, I retired from the Hamilton Wenham Public Library, where I was the director for 14 years, and I want to continue to support local library services. Next year, I will have 5 grandchildren at the Bagnell School, and I've seen firsthand how the library has been instrumental in fostering their early literacy and their learning. I've been a library trustee since 2020, and I respectfully ask you to consider me for re-election in May, and thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, thank you. So maybe we can applaud at the end. So next, Patrick Molina is running for planning board.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. One of the big red button issues today was about volunteerism and showing up, and so a full room here is a good sign of the people that are here and people that care about Groveland, like myself. There are 3 reasons that you should vote for me to be the newest member of the planning board. The first one is that I'm qualified. I've been an attorney in Massachusetts for pushing about 25 years now, so I certainly can read a bylaw, and I understand that there is a master plan, and I've taken a peek at it as well. I understand that there's a framework for us to work with, and I'm ready to go ahead and work for you that way. The planning board is suited to my skill set, so it's definitely something that it's an ideal position for me as a relatively new Groveland resident. Number 2 is I'm invested. My wife and daughter and I just plunked down stakes. We bought what we think is going to be our forever home, and I just put her in the Bagnell as a kindergartner. I expect to be here with you guys in some capacity when she graduates from high school. So we've got some time together, at a minimum. Number 3 is easy. I'm here. I did the work. And that's exactly what you can expect from me in service for this town. I care. I'm showing that I went and met with a lot of you folks, had got signatures, talked to people. Everybody told me how much they hated how much taxes we pay, among some other issues. And so I have a good feel for what's going on, and you can expect that I'll do my homework, that I'll be there, and I'll show up, and you won't have to worry about quorums and problems with me not being on time for class. So the last reason is, hey, I'm unopposed. No one else did it. So vote for the person that shows up. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you. So finally, Lee Thomas is running for library trustee unopposed.
Hi. So on the ballot, it says Leonard Lee Thomas, but I have too many other relatives named Leonard, so I go by my middle name, Lee. So anyway, about a little over 10 years ago, I was asked to replace some people on the Board of Trustees who had resigned. The library was in kind of a mess. And my thought was, it's books, it's people, how hard can it be? And I discovered that it was harder than I thought it was going to be. And then when it came time for me to run for election as opposed to being appointed by the Board of Selectmen, I said, can it be as bad as it was the last 2 years? And so I decided to run, because it has to get better, and it did. The library's gotten much better. My family and I have lived in the town for 38 years. My daughters loved it as kids. I love the library as a patron, and I've become to love even more what it has to offer. I can't add to what Jan had to say. She was really comprehensive. The library, you should be very proud of what our library does for such a small town and for just small staff and everything else. We do some amazing things there, and I'm very proud to be part of that, and I want to continue to be part of that. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. And so just don't leave your seats, folks at home and here. We're just going to take a very brief break, and some people are going to come up to talk about the ballot questions. So ballot question people come up, and you guys can go. Thank you. All right, we live now? Attention, everyone. Attention, please. Hello, we're back. So this year, there are 2 municipal ballot questions before the voters of Groveland. And we're going to allow 3 minutes for each speaker before we come to the audience questions. So ballot question 1 does not have a speaker in favor or opposed. The town administrator, Rebecca Oldham, has offered to present information about why question 1, what it is, and the reason it's on the ballot. And so we won't have any questions about question 1. And you have 3 minutes, I think I said.
Thank you. So we just want to take an opportunity to make sure that people understood what they were voting for on the ballot. Sorry.
So question one is in regards to the assessing board and making it appointed rather than elected. So we had a financial management assessment conducted in November 2022 by the Division of Local Assistance, and they had recommended that we transition the Board of Assessors from elected to appointed. So in the 2023 annual town meeting, we had an article, and the town voted unanimously in favor to, pursuant to its authority under General Law, Chapter 41, Section 1B, contingent on the acceptance by the voters at the annual town election, authorize the Board of Selectmen to appoint 3 citizens to serve on the Board of Assessors for a term of 3 years, all appointed officials to serve staggered terms in accordance, and to succeed the elected officials in their positions in accordance with General Law, Chapter 41, Section 1B. So we did the first part, which was the acceptance at town meeting, and now we have the ballot question. So I just wanted to give a little bit of background on why we had proposed the change. Mostly, there's just 4 reasons. One is that the appointment process can be more efficient than holding elections. As a small town, we don't have many people who run for office, so it can make it more streamlined. Expertise, appointed assessors can be selected based upon their qualifications and their expertise, which makes things very easy when we're trying to vote on property assessments. Consistency, with an appointed assessor, there's continuity in the assessment process, and this can help maintain fairness and predictability and properly assessment of your property over time. And the last is accountability. Appointed assessors can be held accountable to their appointing authority, such as the Board of Selectmen, and can help ensure that assessors adhere to the professional standards and act in the best interest of the community. So those are the reasons that it was proposed by the Division of Local Services and why we put it forward from an administrative standpoint. It was approved unanimously at town meeting, and we are looking for this to be passed on the ballot so that we can proceed moving forward.
Okay, so thank you. So for ballot question 2, each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to present their argument. And our goal is to complete this part of the forum within about 25 minutes. And so speaking first will be in favor of the ballot question, that's Brian Lynch. And then speaking after that, opposed to the ballot question, is Michael Dempsey. And then after that, we can do the same kind of thing where you ask some succinct questions at the microphone over there, and then they can answer your questions. I guess we would just alternate who goes first. So Brian, you're first.
Good evening. My name is Brian Lynch, and I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Groveland citizens who have presented a petition to repeal the Community Preservation Bylaw. This initiative was started by a group of seniors from our community who are trying to curb any tax burdens they can. The approximate $250 average annual assessment may not seem like a lot to the average resident who's still working, but to a senior resident on a fixed retirement income who is falling behind due to inflation, it matters. As we all experience increases in our expenses such as insurance, home heating, gasoline, food, those on fixed incomes feel the strain of this more than others. The impact goes beyond the initial assessment. Many of these projects taken on by the CPA create a financial impact that continues after the initial acquisition covered by the CPA funds. Repairs, maintenance, and any burden the project creates for municipal staffing eventually is covered by our property taxes. An example of this could be the splash pad that was approved last year. This project will cost taxpayers more than they realize. Each year, expenses are needed to cover the opening, the winterizing, weekly maintenance of the splash pad will need to be covered by taxes. In addition, taxpayers will have to pay for the town water supplied to the pad and discharged into the sewer system. They'll like to tell you that the water is going to be free, but nothing's actually free. Anything the Groveland Water and Sewer Department does is on the burden of the ratepayers. In a small town with limited municipal staff, it's difficult to oversee these types of projects to ensure the scope of work is followed and an acceptable quality of work is achieved. Some recent examples of this. The sidewalk right over here at the Pines Recreation Area. We spent $88,000 for a sidewalk that turned out to be poorly constructed and incomplete. It was initially installed in the wrong area and then cut up and reassembled in its current location. It still comes up 8 feet short of the parking lot, and the termination point at Main Street looks as though it was an afterthought as it wraps around a guardrail, cuts into a steep embankment. Due to the lack of oversight, this turned out to be a lot of money spent for a subpar sidewalk at best. Another example of this could be 46 Washington Street, the old water department garage. The $20,000 proposal was approved to clean up the exterior and install some landscaping to make it look better for the abutters and to survey what's there and how it can be used in the future. Prior to much of that work being done, a CPA member had decided to have an HVAC system installed in the building, intending to use the project funds to cover the expense. This was not part of the approved project. When the Board of Selectmen became aware of that, the CPA decided to spend administrative funds to cover the error. Administrative funds are not supposed to be a free cash account to spend on mistakes made by board members due to a lack of oversight. When these projects are initially forwarded to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, looking for either favorable or unfavorable action to go to town meeting, they're asked to base their decision on the project headline, consisting of 2 or 3 sentences. They're not seeing the actual proposal that includes scope of work, the responsible parties involved, or any type of financial breakdown.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
Thank you for coming tonight. There's a lot of facts and information about community preservation. Yeah, so sorry about that. So thanks for coming tonight. There's a lot of information and facts about community preservation, and I have a limited amount of time to tell you some of those things. But just in general, the CPA Act was passed in 2000. There's a folder here about the state law. We decided to join it in 2005, and we've been successfully using it as an important tool over the last years. So the question is, what does the Act cover? The Act can cover only 4 areas: recreation, community housing, historical preservation, and open space. How much do we pay? As others have said, we're paying currently 3% of our property tax. The average bill that people pay is $243. Some people get a little mixed up. I have my property tax here, bill, and if you note, down in the very corner is the number that you pay per year, not per quarter. The other thing that was brought up is that it's tough for people to pay if you're on limited income. That's been taken care of too. Exemptions. There's a whole sheet here. It's possible to get an exemption as a moderate income senior citizen or a low income homeowner. So that's, understandably, taxes are high in Groveland, but there's a way out for you. There's no need to get rid of CPA just because some of us have to not be able to afford the tax. You can file for an exemption. But here's the good news. The good news is that the state matches what we do. So over the last 16 years, 17 years, in the beginning we were getting 100%. That number's gone down since more communities have joined the CPA. Currently, we get somewhere between 38% and 100% of our match from the state. The match that we get can be used like any other fund that we collect. The other matches that we get that I don't have time to go into, but we get matches from private grants like our dog park. Our dog park, we put in $25,000. We got $225,000 for a private grant to fund the remainder of the park. So, thank you.
Okay, so the next part, we're going to have audience questions, and the speakers have 60 seconds each in alternating order, and then at the end, there's closing statements, and you can have 2 minutes for that. So you want to ask a question? Okay.
Thank you again, Lynn. Joe Demore, 9 Cherry Tree Lane. Since you are both on have opposing views on this question, if the yes vote prevails, that means we will repeal the CPA. So could you please give us your interpretation of this line on the ballot? The surcharge will, if the yes vote prevails, the surcharge will continue to be assessed in future years until monies in the Community Preservation Fund are sufficient to fully pay all community preservation obligations incurred by Groveland. That is confusing to me and possibly other voters. Even if we repeal it, it seems like there'll be a continuation of the surcharge. Love to hear your comments.
Okay, so Michael, you would go first on that one.
So that's not really correct, Joe. Once, if this were to pass, your tax bill, the next tax bill you get will not include a CPA number on it. We will be collecting no more CPA funds locally. All of the projects that we have funded have been set aside and paid for already. Even if they're not done yet, the money has already been set aside in the fund. So there's no need to worry about that we have to keep collecting a tax. However, CPA will not go away because we still have money that will need to be spent. So I suspect that, over the next 3 to 5 years, we still will be funding CPA projects. Now, I don't want to advocate that, well, we should get rid of it because, oh, gee, we got plenty of money now, we need to take a break. But there's an unending stream of potential projects that are coming our way.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
Yeah, as far as the language in that, it was surprising to me that it would continue to be collected. I was under the impression of what Mike said was the collection would stop and the CPA would remain in existence until the funding was spent down.
Anyone else?
My name is Stephanie Bartelt. I'm just wondering, for future community projects, like, for example, some of the ones that are before the community right now, for example, the historical recognition of Washington Hall or Perry Park or any number of the other projects, how will those be funded in the future?
So Brian, you would go first on this one?
Okay, as far as future funding goes, I think on certain projects, you gave an example of the historic documents from Town Hall. Again, our town clerk went to the CPA. It was available to her to go to. I'm sure she's a resourceful person. She may, in other times, look for another grant source. I'm sure there are other municipal grants through the federal government, state government that may provide that. I'm not sure. I'm not in that world. As far as things like Perry Park, I'm not a big fan of necessarily trying to think everything needs enhancement. It's nice to just have a town green. It could be left as is. I don't think it really is a project that needs to move forward. It's a want, not a need. So I think a lot of these projects are that. They're wants, not needs.
Thank you. Michael?
Yes. So I don't think anybody really wants to admit it, but unfortunately, if we vote yes on question 2, CPA is going away. It's just a matter of time before any of the projects that we funded thus far, we won't be funding in the future. Just think of what we've got for CPA so far. Bathrooms at Shanahan Field, ball field improvements and parking lot at Washington Park, handicap ramp and elevator at Vesey Park, trails and outdoor space, historic markers at the cemetery, buy-down program for affordable housing where we help people who can't afford to even come up with a down payment to buy a house, restoration of war memorials, historic documents at the library, revitalization of the Pines, and 3 playgrounds at Washington Park, the Pines, and Bagnell. We've funded over 63 projects that have affected every single one of you and single one of your children. And it's important to think about what the future holds without CPA.
Okay. Thank you. So it looks like, Rebecca, you had indicated you had a question?
I should know better. Hello, my name is Rebecca Boucher, and I live on Salem Street. I'm just wondering why you're against CPA projects that help boost local property values and support the local economy by hiring local vendors and contractors.
Okay, so Michael, can you start first on that question?
I think that's probably something that we don't really take into account is that all of these projects that are being funded are local projects. First of all, we get to decide locally. Again, nobody likes to pay a tax. Unfortunately, that's how we keep our town running. But the good thing about this tax is that we get to decide very specifically how the money gets spent. So that's a good thing. The other thing is that when we do a project, most of the time, the people that bid the project, that come in and do the project, many times are local vendors. So not only are we getting a good project, but we're also supporting the local economy by hiring local vendors.
Thank you. Brian?
I don't necessarily agree with it being a local employment issue. If we look at the Pines directly right over here, it wasn't local contractors who worked on the dog park. It wasn't local contractors who put in the walkway. So it's not necessarily just confined to benefiting local contractors. As far as the property values go, I really honestly don't think that certain parts of these projects, when my real estate is assessed, they're looking at my real estate property. They're not looking at the local park, whether or not the swing set, is brand new or if it's 30 years old. I don't think it necessarily has that big of an impact on our property values. So that being said, I think it's more for wants than needs, and I think needs right now are more important.
Thank you. There's an audience person over there, so you're on.
Steve Baker, 5 Sunset Circle. Maybe could you talk a little bit about how other communities that have repealed CPA after adopting it have handled projects going forward, of the nature of how CPA projects are funded today?
Thank you. So Brian?
All right, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think CPA has been repealed in any town yet. So there's no evidence or history to show what that direction would look like. Again, I just seem to think that a lot of these projects, we're looking at putting gardens in. We have a garden club in town. Can they help to put in a garden? We're looking to get rid of weeds on parks. We constantly, you hear about Eagle Scouts looking for projects. Some of those things can be taken care of in that regard. I just don't think that these projects aren't necessarily necessities. Skate parks, splash pads, things of that nature. They're just not needs, they're wants. And if a town, just like we do at home, if we can't afford something, we don't buy it. As a municipality, we shouldn't have a different attitude.
Thank you. Michael?
Yes, thank you. So indeed, that's true. No other town. There currently are 196 towns using CPA. 196 towns who see the wisdom of using community preservation for things that the normal budget can't cover. These aren't about necessarily needs versus wants. We all know that many of the projects we may not have chosen to do. We may not like some of the projects. Some of the projects, I don't have any, I'm not planning on using the skate park, honestly speaking, but there are many people in town who are interested in that type of thing. We can go to the bare bones, but CPA will help us not to go to the bare bones, to become a more desirable place to live. Our property values go up. When seniors go to sell their home, people are going to buy their home because they want to come to Groveland.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience want to ask a question? So I think the person in the very back had their hand up first. She had it up first? Okay. Okay, lady in pink.
I just have one word to say, well, no, a bunch of words. If it improves the property tax, which means our taxes go up, the value of the homes will increase our taxes. And again, our taxes are outrageous right now. I've lived in town since 1977, and I've seen a lot happen in prices going up. That's what I have to say.
So, what's your question?
No, I just wanted to relay that message, that's all.
Would you like it to, we can phrase it as a question and you can ask it if you want.
Okay, so there's no alternative, though. If the CPA tax continues, our alternative is continuing to raise the taxes.
So it sounds like.
Is that true?
Yeah, are you worried if the CPA continues, our property tax is going to go up?
Because it was stated that if we better the town, the looks of the town, it's going to make our value of the properties go up, which means our taxes are going to go up.
Okay, so.
Right?
Yeah, so is it okay if Michael can address?
Sure.
Can address your thoughts and question?
I'm not absolutely sure that I can address that question because it's kind of a bigger question than just community preservation. But what I can say is you cannot get exempt from, as far as I know, you can't get exempt from any other tax. Have you ever tried to get exempt from the property tax?
I tried to get an exempt a couple of years ago for the CPA, and I had to give my firstborn. They want everything. I'm telling you, it's, you need bills for this, showing bills for that.
Well, it's not something that we do lightly, so again, it's beyond what I can really address. But all I can say is that there's no other tax that you can get an exemption for if you do the work to get the exemption. But there is the exemption for the CPA. So if the amount that you're paying for CPA is a burden, then if you do the work, unfortunately, it's work, but you can become exempt from it.
But again, it makes the taxes go up.
All right.
You have an agreement with that.
Excuse me, ma'am, it's time for the next speaker to address your concerns, so Brian?
As I mentioned when the previous person asked the question, I don't think there's a super strong correlation between the projects and our property values. I think there's a lot more that goes into our property values that generate the increases than necessarily the CPA. But that being said, that's what we're here about. It's the whole purpose of this ballot question was to, help stave off taxes, not increase taxes. So if that person was correct that these do increase our property values, then it's even more important to these folks to have a repeal, to not have to continue paying this.
Okay, so there was someone in the back had their hand up who wants to ask a question.
Here we go. Dick Hodges, 35 Union Street. So we have $3.1 million of CPA money in my left pocket with restrictions. And we had 6 candidates tonight, all knowing that we have financial struggles here in town. All 6 that want to be selectmen know that that's a serious financial. And this year, the only reason we're not doing the override is the school is deducting hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million, out of their budget. Last year, they got the money, we had the override. Guess what's happening next year? Now, my question is, I've got the 3.1 million in my left pocket of CPA. Why can't I help Groveland? Why can't I help the schools with that money? That's my question.
Okay.
And it's common sense. For me, it's a common sense issue. And let me turn this off. It's a common sense issue, and I apologize because I missed the funeral for common sense.
Okay, so Brian?
I totally get where you're coming from. I agree with what you're saying. Unfortunately, it's state law. There's defined purposes that this money can be used for. So that's kind of the in your face of this whole thing. We can afford luxuries, but we can't afford necessities. So that's the real kick of the whole thing. But that would be changing state legislation to release money out of CPA for more purposes other than the guidelines that currently exist.
And Michael?
Yes, so you're correct. Indeed, this is a state law. We can't change it, but I would ask the people who want to use this money, have you approached your local state rep and asked for them to change the law? I don't see that happening, but I don't see people here in Groveland jumping to do that. If we really think that the solution to our financial problems is to change the law the way it is written, I don't think you're going to be able to do it, but certainly maybe you should pursue that. That's all I'll say, yeah.
Okay, well, I think we can have one more question from the audience and then the closing statements from the speakers. So does anyone else want to ask a question? You wanted to? Okay.
Jan Dempsey, 33 Uptack Road. I'm just curious if there's any plan in place to replace the revenue that we currently get from the state, the matching revenue for our CPA projects. So if we want to do a project in the future without CPA funds, we will be losing, we won't have any of that revenue to rely on. So is there any plan to somehow recoup that in another way?
Okay, thank you. So Michael, you would go first on this one.
Yes, so as I alluded to before, this is a big issue because we're going to lose our match. And I just want to tell you about one example, and that is our community trail. Our community trail was about 8 years in the making, with a lot of people doing a lot of work on it. Specifically, our town administrator has done a great job. We love the community trail. If you haven't been out there, get out there. It's terrific, and it's connecting us to other towns around us. We put forward $465,000 of our CPA funds. Approximately 40% of that was matched by the state. After we did that, the state invested over $3 million in Groveland to build the community trail. Those are the kind of things that we're going to lose out on if we do away with CPA.
And Brian?
As far as the matching revenue goes, it's been decreasing more so, it seems, lately. There was talk about back in the day, 100%, 80%. This year it's down to about 40%. So I guess one philosophy is ride it to the end and, just keep spending money and hoping the state keeps helping us out. But on the flip side to that, it's the alternative is, okay, yeah, so we're getting some state money. That was our tax money once before anyway, so there's no free money. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to drive the senior community out of our town, just in the name of getting a few bucks from the state to build some extra projects. So I guess that's what you got to weigh out. Is it worth getting this money from the state for wants at the peril of the senior community who are just being taxed to death here in town? So it's money I'd be willing to let go. I don't see the value in the money in comparison to the value in the people.
Okay, so thank you very much to the audience for all of your questions. And so we're going to have closing statements, and each speaker has 2 minutes. So Brian spoke first with the opening statement, so Michael, you can speak first for the closing statement.
Okay. Thank you. So I just want you to remember some of the important points I brought up. Remember, you can file for an exemption if you can't afford the CPA tax. The CPA tax is decided locally, so all our projects, you get to vote on very specific projects, even if you don't agree with them at town meeting. And also, anyone can submit a proposal to the committee. You can come to the Community Preservation Committee, bring your proposal, bring your ideas. We're more than happy to listen. Some of the future potential projects that could be brought up are increased affordable housing for seniors, further restoration of historic markers, build outdoor game tables at Town Hall Complex to increase recreation activities for seniors, Elm Square signage, and a needs assessment survey of the recreational needs of senior population. Remember, here's the benefits of CPA. Every dollar we contribute on a project, we get at least $1.60 towards the project because of matches. CPA is a source of funds to address the needs of a growing community beyond what we can do with normal budget demands. Local decisions on what voters in Groveland think is important. We get a healthier community. We get work on projects that support our local vendors and connect contractors. We get to increase our Groveland property values. When we sell our house, you're going to get more for your house because people want to come to Groveland. It's because it's a desirable place to live. So I'm happy to answer any other questions by email. The email address is keepgrovelandcpa@comcast.net. You can also get more information at grovelandgreen.org. And I would ask you to vote no on question 2 to save our Community Preservation Act.
Okay, thank you. Brian, you have up to 2 minutes.
Right. Granted, we all have the opportunity to attend town meeting, but unfortunately, very few people actually attend relative to our voting population. This allows the opportunity for special interest groups to pass projects with very little resistance. Groups advocating for the interests, such as VZ Park, have directed over $650,000 in CPA grants, with much more in the works through additional proposals. It seems like it's become a subsidy for certain parcels in town, such as VZ. The CPA is proposing spending $1.3 million on parking lots, while our existing roads continue to fall into disrepair. While we understand that the approximately $3 million under CPA direction can only be used for defined purposes, it's hard to grasp when we can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on novelties such as splash pads, skate parks, landscaping, gardening projects, when we already struggle to cover the necessities in town and have to face overrides for our schools, our fire trucks, and at times our general budget. The CPA allows us to acquire these amenities, which in theory are nice, but we have no means in the budget to cover the ongoing expenses related to these projects without creating further tax burdens on the already struggling. I'd like to reiterate that this petition was started by a group of seniors in an effort to control their constantly rising tax burden. The CPA is a tax to acquire wants, not needs. This tax can easily be eliminated. In doing so, it could further reduce the taxes required to maintain these new projects. A yes vote will end the CPA bylaw, and a yes vote will reduce your taxes. Thank you very much.
Okay, so this is the end of our debate part, but don't go away here or at home because your town clerk has some important information about your upcoming election. But I want to thank our speakers for the ballot questions and all of the candidates who are running and want to serve Groveland, and our media person, Chris LaCoria, and our fabulous timekeepers. You have to be really alert and quick on the draw to do that, Kathy Graney and Laurie LeBlanc. And thank you for inviting me here to do this. This was very interesting. So, Beth, you're on.
All right. First, I would like to thank everyone for attending tonight. Second, please join me in thanking Lynn Brodsky for offering her trained services to Groveland. Residents have had the opportunity to listen and learn about the candidates on the ballot. We appreciate Lynn volunteering her time and experience for the voters of Groveland. Please take I would also like to thank our timekeepers here tonight, Laurie and Kathy Graney, because they did an awesome job as well. I would also like to thank the candidates for attending tonight. Please pass the word that tonight's event was filmed, and anybody that you know who couldn't attend or would like to watch it again, let them know that it's out there and please watch it. I'd also like to take a moment to let the voters know about our up-and-coming elections. So our annual town meeting is coming up on Monday, April 29th at 6:30 at the Dr. Elmer S. Bagnell School, which is 253 School Street. We require a quorum of 100 people in order to have a town meeting. Please make every effort to attend. It's a really important night. You vote your budget, you vote your town politics. Please try to attend. I also have an important update to the voters. Voters who requested mail-in ballots. Unfortunately, there was an error on the ballots that we mailed out, and we neglected to include the Housing Authority. We have corrected that error, and we will be mailing out corrected ballots to each person who requested one. If you have not returned your ballot, please destroy it. If you have returned your ballot, we will reject it. The ballots, the ballots should be in by this Friday or Monday for us to mail out again, and no ballot will be counted twice, since the first batch will be rejected. So please, when you get your ballot, if you've requested one by mail, resubmit it, and we will count it. The vote by mail must be returned to the clerk's office by 8 p.m. on the close of Election Day, which is May 6th, by 8. So it has to be not just in the ballot box, but it has to come into the town clerk's office, be recorded, and then go in and be recorded in the ballot room. And last of all, the Groveland election, as I said, is on Monday, May 6th. Voting will be held at the Town Hall, which is 183 Main Street, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And this Saturday, we are also offering an early in-person voting if you would like to come in and vote between the hours of 9 and 2. So you can vote in person early this Saturday. So I really apologize for the issue with the ballots. Just destroy, if you have them at home, we will send you out a new one. There's still plenty of time to get them back. You can drop them in the mail, or you can drop them in the ballot box that's right outside the door. And let's look forward to a good, successful election. Thank you all for coming. How do we order a mail ballot, and by when do you need that? That has to be, you have until 5 o'clock on April 29th, which is Monday night, to submit an application.
Could you repeat the question that the person
Oh,
just
I'm
asked
sorry.
so voters at home can hear?
The question was, when is the deadline, or how do you request a vote-by-mail ballot? The deadline to submit an application for a ballot to be mailed to you is Monday night, 5 o'clock. The state sent out cards this year to every registered voter. You had the option to vote by mail for every election. If you chose every election, you also received a ballot for the local election. So if you didn't send back the cards that came out in January, you still have the option to request an application. But you do have to complete an application first in order to get a ballot sent out.
I mailed in my ballot already.
So yours will be rejected, and you will get a new ballot mailed to you, which will include the Groveland Housing Authority on it, because that was neglected to be included. Yes, absolutely, everyone. So, we worked very hard today to get our packages set up. As soon as the ballots arrive, they'll go right back out.
Any other questions from the audience about the mechanics or location of the election before we close?
Okay. Yep.
I can say, and you can relay via microphone, is that for older adults, on the day of election, we can, the Groveland Council on Aging can provide rides. They just need to give us a call and we can make that happen.
Okay. Yes, I will. So Alyssa Lees, our Director of Council on Aging, they offer seniors an option to call the Council on Aging to get a ride to the town hall so that you can vote in person on Election Day. So anyone that needs a ride or needs assistance, please give the Council on Aging a call, and they will be happy to arrange a time to pick you up.
And everybody knows how to reach the Council on Aging?
I don't know the number offhand, so I will.
I don't know, ask your neighbor for the number of the Council on Aging.
978
Thank you.
372 1101.
You're great. 978
372
372
1101.
1101. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, you're welcome. Oh, God, help me.
Feel comfortable with that?
I did. Select board is actually at the town meeting. Our town meeting. Oh, is it the select board? It'll be the select board. So in Manchester, we changed Yeah, we're a little. The board of selectmen